Hi, my name is Andre, and this is my introductory lesson to accessible and responsive web pages. Through this lesson, I hope to get you excited about these technologies that improve our interactions with websites. At the beginnings of web technology, the websites were pretty simple. The display were mostly the same size, and they were not very big, so the information was presented in a simple way. The options you had for creating a web page were not many either. You can see here one of the first versions of the msn.com website. You can see we have a simple text and a few images, just a simple structure. But technology evolved both in display sizes and computing power, and web pages got more and more interactive and complex. We can see now the current version of the same site with a lot more elements, more content, and more advanced layout. While design evolved to benefit of the bigger screens and left the small screens behind, the mobile revolution came in and brought in devices similar to the ones from the beginning of the web. This brought a new level of complexity of the web environment and new technologies to build web pages that can adapt to this level of entropy where needed. The mobile market is growing very fast now, and it is very important to build websites that are usable on any device in order to keep our users frustration-free. Let's see a real example of a non-responsive website. You can see that while I resize the window, some of the content disappears, and you have to use the scroll bars to be able to see the entire information. Let's look now at a responsive example, the bmw.com website. As you see, while I resize the browser, the layout is changed dynamically. And the information is still fully visible. A great tool to check how your website behaves on various screens is Chrome Developer Tools. You can access it from this menu, More Tools, Developer Tools. While it is active, you can see the actual resolution in the top right corner as we resize the window. If you press the Devices button in the toolbar, you'll see more options and predefined presets for the most common mobile devices. You can even edit and add more presets or add a custom one. Or you can use the freestyle responsive, which can be resized. It is also a good idea while you work on mobile devices emulators to dock the developer tools on the right so you can get a better use of your workspace. You can do that from here. Choose right side. Developer tools emulators will give you an idea on how your website looks on various device sizes. It is not always accurate though, as the rendering can be different depending on the browser used. Also, so it is important to test the website on real devices as much as you can. There are tools that connect your PC tools with the mobile devices also and facilitates the testing. In the Android case, you can also use Android emulators from Google that run the actual Android system and applications. The visible part of the entire document is called viewport. When the browser window is expanded to the maximum width of the screen, the viewport width is equal to the width of the screen. Easy, right? Well, things got a little more complex over time in this area also. While technology evolved in order to have screens that display the content better and sharper, pixels that use, well, more pixels started to appear. iPhone 5, for example, has a width of 640 pixels while in normal portrait mode. But the viewport width reported by the browsers will be 320. In order to have a standard way that works across devices, the viewport size is reported in DIPS, which is short for device-independent pixels. This is a unit of measurement that reflects the actual distance and that takes the same amount of space on any device, no matter what the pixel density is. The number of hardware pixels reported to the device-independent pixels is called device pixel ratio. On mobile devices, the viewport width is not set to the actual device DIPS by default, but to a standard value agreed upon that is not related to the actual size. So in order to get our content to be properly displayed, we must use the viewport meta tag. A proper value is the following. The width equals device width tells the browser to set the viewport width to the actual screen width in DIPS. The initial scale equals 1 tells the browser to establish a one-to-one relation between device-independent pixels and CSS pixels. Without this attribute, some mobile browsers will keep the same fixed width when the device is rotated. They also scale the content instead of allowing it to reflow. Another problem regarding widths is when we have a large fixed width object, like a picture. Obviously, if our screen is smaller than the image width, then the picture will not fit the screen. The users will have to scroll left and right to see the entire image, and since the phones are normally used in portrait mode, only a small part of the image will be visible. The range of possible widths is very wide, so we cannot count on a certain fixed viewport width for the content to be rendered well. Large widths or absolute positions can result in elements that take too much space of the visible part or don't fit the screen at all. That's why it is better to use relative sizes instead of absolute ones, like 100%. It's important that content fits within the viewport to prevent horizontal scrolling. We should use relative units for the weights of the elements to prevent them from overflowing the visible area. If you don't specify a size for an image that is bigger than the container, it will overflow. You can prevent this from happening by setting the max width to 100% by default. You can even set a global value in your main CSS for image, embed, object, and video elements just to be safe. What we've discussed so far are some simple ways to keep your elements inside the viewport. But the most important thing when we start building a responsive web page is how we will replace the elements inside the viewport, or what is called layout. For this, we have to appeal to our creative side, as it is more an issue of artistic vision on how to display the information inside the page. Once we have an idea on how we want the site to be presented depending on various screen sizes, we have several ways to accomplish that. The easiest one is with media queries. Let's add a new style sheet and a media query that applies only when the viewport is smaller than 640 pixels. I will add a new linked CSS file with a media attribute with the type screen and max width set to 640 pixels so that it's only applied when the width is less than this value. If we take a look at the style sheet that gets applied, we can see that it changes the background color to green. Okay, let's see it in action. For the moment, the background is still white, but as we shrink the browser window, once it hits the 640 pixel breakpoint, the screen turns green as the media query has been matched. This is a simple example, but you can change any CSS attribute in this way to obtain our dynamic responsive layout. Let's see a more complex example. The following CSS styles set 4 breakpoints that determine the layout to change. A breakpoint is a point at which the page changes the layout. So we'll have 3 boxes in the layout, which on narrow devices will be shown one below the other, taking the full width of the screen. On medium width devices, the first 2 will be displayed on the same line, taking half of the screen, and the third one below them, taking full width of the screen. For above medium devices, we will display the boxes in line, each taking 1/4 of the screen. And finally, for even larger screens, we will limit the width of each box to 400 pixels. Let's see it in action. This is taking 1/4 for each box. Then the medium screen sizes, and the smallest one below each other. As you can see in the code, I used another way to set the breakpoints by embedding them with @media tags. The difference between them is that the one I used previously will use more CSS files, while the latter will have fewer bigger CSS files. First one will generate more HTTP requests, and the second will have fewer HTTP requests that can take longer time to complete. So you'll have to balance the use according to each project that you will work on. So this was my first lesson about responsive design. I hope you like it and that you'll return for the next one. See you later.